Thank you very much, Peter. Like all good researchers, I've come with a few slides, probably too many for my 6-7 minutes, so I will whip through quickly. My email address appears at the end, so if any of it does interest you, then do give me a do just drop me a line afterwards. Right, so my slides. I'm just going to talk through how the public view environment as an issue compared to everything else, but also some of the sort of changing attitudes towards climate change, towards recycling, and see how the trends are going in public opinion, some of the challenges we face in winning over public opinion. Right, what we do every month at Ipsos Mori is we ask the good people of Britain, what are the major issues facing the country today? Yes. So this is the latest data we've got from last month. Not surprisingly, the economy has dominated. The past year, 18 months, it's been the #1 issue, and if anything, is going up and up and up the agenda. Of course, obviously, a lot of this will reflect what's in the papers, what people are seeing on the news, etc. If you read down the chart, it does vary month to month, but the big issues last month, we go down race relations, education, unemployment. I've put a blue horizontal line there, which sort of reflects environment doesn't come under inflation. It's further down the list, but you've got 5% of the public citing it as a major issue facing Britain today. So you've got a small minority, actually, who will say environment. And how does that vary over time? This is the trends all the way back to late 80s, and the green line is the proportion of the public who say environment is a key issue facing Britain today. And I mean, the general trend, you'll see, it never sort of rises above 10% of the public, whereas the other issues of the day, the top issues will typically be getting 40%, 50% sometimes. So it hovers around. Where you've got the peaks, this back in sort of 2007-8, this was Stern report, 2000. We all learned what the ozone layer was and things like that. So that was where we had the hugest people prioritising environment. What you're seeing, I've just plotted here, when you get specific incidents, so foot and mouth obviously had a massive, massive impact on public opinion, public perceptions, and that became the top issue for 1 month, then quickly died away. I also thought it might just be interesting to show you sort of GM foods never has registered as a key issue of public opinion. You've only got literally, it's usually about 2% every month. So that's the sort of general trends. And I think the other thing I just wanted to point out was how concern and prioritisation of the environment compares with prioritisation of the economy. Because I think we often hear that, oh, when the economy becomes the #1 issue, the environment will disappear off the radar. It's just one of those issues. And I think it doesn't happen. I mean, the environment, like I say, is never seemingly prioritised very highly, but it's not a case that there's this big correlation. Suddenly the economy takes a turn for the worse, we don't care about the environment anymore. And I think in current times, it doesn't really change depending on where the economy is an issue. And in current times, I think we've just got to the fact all the issues take a hit when the economy takes priority. So it's not a case where it's one versus the other. I think that's sort of fallacy that often gets talked about. When we talk about is it a voting issue for people, this was just when we asked people before the election which of the issues would be very important to you in deciding how you'll vote. So again, it's not surprisingly how the parties will manage the economy, healthcare, education. Protecting the environment, 5% of people. Again, so you're seeing this small minority of people saying it's their top issue of concern, it's the thing they will vote on. So, I know one of the points we're going to discuss maybe is how the political parties may be prioritised. Obviously they're in tune with what the public are saying as well. It's not coming through as a major issue there. When you ask people which political party, this is again earlier this year, which political party has the best policies, and we actually word this in terms of climate change, always a bit odd when you ask people about political parties and environment, because obviously the Green Party is well known, it's seen as the public as a single policy party, that is the party that's seen as best. But interestingly, there's not huge variations between the main parties. Lib Dems slightly ahead of Labour, in turn slightly ahead of Conservatives, but not major differences in terms of how we as the public see different parties campaigning on or actually prioritising the environment.
Fair enough.
I know I just finally finish on really what some of the key trends we're finding in public opinion on key environmental issues. And this was only out on Monday, a study we've done with Cardiff University around public attitudes towards climate change, public attitudes towards energy. And what we're seeing is, depending on how you see it, and it was reported in different papers quite differently, I think The Guardian reported it as still the majority of people are very concerned about global warming. I think the Mail reported as huge decline in people worried about global warming. And I think you do have to look at the figures. You've got 2005 in red. These are people very concerned, fairly concerned, and you'll see over time that is dwindling down. You see, the email issue we had, just more and more reluctance and some more scrutiny around what is happening in global warming. And I think combined with that is we've actually got less people now who actually think the world's climate is changing. It was 9 in 10 in 2005, it's now down to 8 in 10. So I think just trends we need to keep an eye on. I think what's encouraging is still the majority of people do think it's their responsibility to help do something about climate change. They can personally help and they can personally make a difference. So we have got the majority saying, although the majority will still feel the government should be taking the lead on these things. It's too big an issue for individuals to take the lead on. And if I have a couple of slides, and this relates sort of to big society, I think, and we're going to have more and more debates about and discussions around how we get people involved locally about the big issues, including the environment. And yet in Britain we have this very, very strong sense of fairness, that everything should be the same everywhere. So actually when you look at recycling, the majority of people will tell you it should be the same everywhere across Britain. We don't like it when we see people elsewhere with better facilities than us. Actually when you start talking to them more and more and you get them to realise areas are very different, actually you can control it, they are more positive. But you've got to get over that sort of sense of fairness we have in Britain. I won't go into detail on that, only to say that for councils we continue doing work which shows local recycling services, local refuse collection will be the most important service for them in terms of their reputation, and that won't change. That's what we all think of our councillors doing, and that will not change. And my final slide is really just looking towards the future. All of us say the environment will take a bigger place in the future. We will be prioritising it more and more. And I think the key priority for all of us really needs to be how we translate to action now, rather than just keep putting it off to the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.